Hey, everybody. Lieutenant Joe here for the Blue Heart Podcast, the place for law enforcement. I want to thank our sponsors, Blue 360 Media, my publisher. I want to thank medicalessentialdiagnostics.com, where you can go get your health screening. Go there, medicalessentialdiagnostics.com, and you and two family members get a cost-free health screening. They're our sponsors, and Blue 360 is the place for everything law enforcement. We're going to be coming up with all kinds of video training and everything very, very soon, but they're an awesome place. So today, we're going to talk a little bit about your boss. Now, there's, what's the worst thing to be in the world? A boss. Nobody wants to be a boss. The boss is the most hated person in the workforce, whether it's in police work or in any other kind of police work. And the reason that the boss is hated is because the boss is usually not a good boss. And by a good boss, what do we mean by that? Well, a good boss is someone who's a good leader. A good leader is someone who understands the men and women in their command, understands their goals for their careers, understands their skill sets, where they're strong and where they're weak. A good boss is someone who challenges you to be better, provides you with the ability to be better, gets you the training you need, and gives you the opportunity to excel. So one of the things I talk about, and I have a leadership class that I do for sergeants and lieutenants, but I think for anybody out there, patrol officers, detective, anybody who aspires to be higher, you need to understand some important things about leadership. So my style of leadership is servant leadership, right? Servant leadership. It was coined a while ago. Some people say it has religious connotations. Jesus was a servant leader, right? The whole idea of servant leadership really means the higher you go in any organization, the more you owe to the people behind you. It's as simple as that. It's a philosophy that doesn't say, well, I got mine now, too bad for you, or you do what I say because I can say it because I'm the boss. It's about empowering the people that you're leading, to helping them be really good. So over the course of my career, I have worked for great leaders, mediocre leaders, and absolutely horrible leaders. And when I compare them and I look over them, and in my leadership course, I never use anybody by name. I never use anybody's name. Sometimes people can guess, and sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. But the reality is, it's the lessons that we've learned from dealing with different kind of leaders. Now, I know there are lots of cops out there that will do stories and podcasts and talk about how horrible their bosses are and the leaders are terrible. And that's unfortunate that we have so many leaders like that. My reason for talking to you right now is saying you may have a great leader and you're very lucky. You may have a mediocre leader, and that's not so good. You may have a horrible leader, and that destroys the entire department. We know it does. In my agency, like I said, I've worked for all of those different kind of leaders, and the ones that pumped us up made the agency great. It really did. It pushed us forward to be aggressive, progressive, do the right things. We got training. We were encouraged to go out and do police work, to lock up bad guys and bad girls. We were encouraged to push the edges. Now, that doesn't mean hurt people, for the knuckleheads that sit out there. And it's pretty funny. For all the law enforcement people around here, there are a lot of people that come on and will watch, and they're not law enforcement. And they make these ridiculous anti-police comments. Wait till something bad happens to you. Who are you going to call, right? Not Ghostbusters. You're calling the cops. If they don't like that skull means you want to hurt people. No, it doesn't. It's a symbol. That's all it is. My cousin Chuck, a retired cop, he makes these kind of things, and he made it. I thought it was cool looking, so I put it up there. But there's a lot of these people sitting out there, probably in their basement, in their underwear, watching a show, taking notes. The reality is, if you worked for a good boss, a good leader, a good chief, they encouraged people. And that's the chief I had. He encouraged everyone to be better. He wanted you to be better, and he challenged you to go out and do the right thing. Go find out what's going on out there and protect our community. It's the bad leaders that unfortunately we're all stuck with sometime. So how do you deal with a bad leader? So in our place, we had someone who was politically connected, and that's how he rose through the ranks. Clear and simple. He had connections in town. He didn't have, he wasn't a great cop. He wasn't a really intelligent person. He was somebody who had connections, and he got pushed through the ranks, and he ended up as the chief. And our department had gone through some changes. We had a very progressive chief who really encouraged all of us, like I said. Then we had a chief who was very laissez-faire. Everybody loved this guy. He was the nicest man in the world. He really wanted you to do good police work. He wanted to keep the community safe, but he didn't like discipline. And when somebody did something wrong where they should have been disciplined, he would talk the sergeant or the lieutenant out of it. Just tell him or tell her, not to do it again. And because he really just liked everybody and everybody liked him. But the reality is, with that kind of a leader, morale went down. People started taking chances. People started cutting corners because, no, there was no discipline. And, everybody knew the chief was great. He loved everybody. He didn't care. Do your job, as best as you can and don't worry. And that was not good for the agency. And then we got a new chief, and he was very strict. He was hypocritical. And like I said, he wasn't very talented. He wasn't a people person. He started out, we really thought he maybe could have used, he had a very strong personality, put it that way. And we really thought he could have used that to, bring the standards back up. And after the laissez-faire chief, now he could be a strong leader and really push everyone to be great and make the department great. But he didn't. He went back to his personality style. And that's what we all do. We all become who we are unless we're striving to be better. And he was a jealous kind of guy. He couldn't take criticism, but he could give it out. Like I said, he was hypocritical. He was really unfortunate. We had a really great agency, and he drove it into the ground to the point that we used to call it a zombie department. We went from being progressive and leading the way to everyone just doing the least amount possible so that you didn't get in trouble, right? Because he went after people. He had favorites. There were some rules for some people and not rules for other people. Some people could do certain things that other people couldn't do. And that all created a negative vibe in the department. And it actually split the department up amongst people. There was rivalries now. There was a lot of anger and frustration. The work level went down because nobody wanted to get in trouble. Doing your job could get you in trouble. So that was really bad. So I guess the purpose of this episode, dealing with a bad boss. How did we deal with this bad boss? Well, for the most part, we did what most people do when they have a leader in a position that, first of all, they shouldn't be in, but they are, unfortunately. And they are vindictive. They have different rules for different people. Everyone tried to negotiate their way through, either by being off the radar. They didn't really do anything. They just answered their calls. Other people that were doing things tried to preempt that there would be a problem and try and, get on his side and, oh, we're doing this. Isn't that great? And you're going to look so great. And then there was other people that just boldly went forward and had to deal with whatever came. And like I said, he was a jealous kind of person. And his career was marked by advancement, but advancement without any real achievement. Now, he had some big cases. He did. I give credit where credit's due. And he had a couple of good pieces of advice over the years that, that he did, that I adopted and I talk about. And I give credit where credit's due. But for the most part, he was a negative feature of our agency. And it was tough to work under those constraints. So I know for me and my partners, we basically took the tack that we'd rather ask forgiveness than permission. And we pushed ahead and did things progressively as best as we could. And when he tried to bring a stop to him, okay, we won't do that anymore. And we found another way around it to do police work, right? We weren't trying to get over. We were trying to do police work the way we had done it for the past, 10, 15 years, aggressive, progressive, to try and solve crime in our town. And over time, I had arguments with him over different things. He got involved in things he shouldn't have gotten involved in. And it just made it very difficult. So my point is, if you have a chief like that, first of all, eventually they will leave. Okay, that's a good thing to know. Number two, um, you might be in a place where the chief stays forever and he's bad or she's bad. And that's unfortunate for you. It's unfortunate for your town and your community. But if you maintain your level of work and you're honest about it and you do the right things, we have to do police work. Now, our society has changed. What they want from us has changed. I came from a time when society wanted us to aggressively go after criminals. Now, I know it's tough for you. I talk to cops from across the country. It's not that easy to do your job anymore. You could get indicted for doing your job that the community wants you to do. And then you do it and everybody's upset. Right. So I get you have a tough time. But the whole idea is to remember. And in one of our first episodes, I talk about this being a noble profession. And it is. Law enforcement is one of the most noble professions there is. We put ourselves last, and we try and save our community and help our community and sacrifice and all those kind of things. And that's good. Surviving a bad chief means always being in the right. And I don't mean arguing in the right. It means being in the right. Follow the rules. Do what you're supposed to do. It's unfortunate if your department is led by a bad chief who it frowns on proactive police work, doesn't like you doing it. Well, then you can't do it. So the key is to move on to another agency where they have a better leader, wait them out, or do the best you can, follow the rules, and do what's right for your community. And sometimes you got to take a write up, or you got to take a talking to in front of the crowd, or you got to be inappropriate in front of you. He or she can be that way. I just know there's a lot of you out there, and when I talk to you, there's a rule that I created this day idea. It's called the 85% rule. And this is not just about chiefs or directors, or this is about everybody in every profession across the country. 85% of the people out there will only do just enough to get by. That's it. They do just enough to be under the radar, to keep their paycheck, not get in trouble. Then there's 10% of everyone in every organization that really wants to do better, but they don't really know how. And that's where if you have a poor leader that doesn't mentor their people, that doesn't train their people, that doesn't provide opportunity, those 10% never really get to go any further. And then there's the 5% of employees or people in any organization that drag everybody else forward no matter what. And in law enforcement, you want to be that 5%. Do the right thing. You have to follow the rules of the leader. Even if they're not a good leader and they make rules, you have to follow them. You can't fight them. That's not appropriate. You can go through channels and see if you can affect some change. Go through your supervisors and see if you can affect change. But unfortunately, sometimes you're just stuck with that bad leader. And for those of you who are watching that may be in a position of leadership, you really need to look at how you perform. How are you doing the job? Are you helping your agency or are you hurting your agency? Are you advancing your people or are you holding them back? Are you helping them to be 5%ers and be great and help your community? Or do you have such limitations that you can't help them? And only you know that. That's a self-assessment thing. You have to look in the mirror and you don't pump yourself, oh, I'm the greatest, because I do this. And you have to be honest. The performance of your agency, the morale of your agency is going to be the determinant factor whether or not you're being a good leader or not. And that's what we say in the class. Just because you're in charge doesn't mean you're a leader. The key is to be a good leader. All right. So Blue 360 Media, I have my book coming out on leadership very, very soon. And it covers all of these kind of concepts. And it's good for everyone to read because you might be a patrol officer, but you're still leading, right? The men and women around you. You might be a sergeant, lieutenant, captain, deputy chief, or the chief. We have to understand that the things that make a good leader can make a department great, can make your people great, or you can destroy them. And if you think that that's the way to lead, I can tell you, you're wrong. Enhancing your people, making them better, helping them to enjoy their career and to be good at what they do, and backing them up when they're right. When they're wrong, you guide, you teach, you lead. But being a good leader is important to everybody. And I know you can reach out to me, Joe at Pangaro Training. You can tell me your stories, good and bad, because I like to hear about different kinds of leaders, and I've seen them, I've worked with them. and it does make a difference to your agency. So that's what I want to talk about today, and I appreciate it. And remember to like the channel, subscribe to the channel, be a part of the channel. We love that you're here. So be good, be safe, be a part of the solution, not the problem.